Before we get into our first ever podcast, I would like to take this moment to thank you for joining us in our first ever podcast. This has been a true thing that me and Jared have been planning for the past couple years, and we finally came to do it. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. There will be a new podcast, maybe even two, every Sunday. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And also, if you want, follow us on Twitter. That link is also in the description below. But also, we would like to thank Alex Carr for coming onto the podcast today. In the first part, which is this part, we are going to be talking about his top 10 Phillies prospects. Who's number one? Let's find out. But also, part 2 is where Alex joins me and Jared in creating our 2021 MLB season predictions. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to our first ever episode of Liberty for Philly podcast. Joining me today is Jared, and also joining us our very first and our first special guest, Alex Carr. How are you today, Alex?
Greetings, gentlemen. This is take 2 for for the listeners. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited and honored to be the first guest twice because my dog ruined the first take. So I'm very excited and honored to be your premier guest. Thank you for having me. Very pumped up.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. If one of you, or all of you don't know, Alex Carr is a writer for the Phillies, local beat writer for the Good Fight, as well as he's a Twitch streamer on Twitch.tv. Take a Balk. You can also find him on Twitter under the same name, which is Alex Carr MLB. Those will be linked in the description below. So, Alex, today we would like to hear about your top 10 Phillies prospects at the moment.
Oh, my top 10. All right. So it changes a little bit, especially because we haven't seen a lot of these guys in over a year. We haven't even gotten any reports on these guys. I mean, we're talking about maybe a couple of whispers from the alternate site here and there. not really anything substantial that we've seen or heard from these guys. So it's very encouraging to see a lot of faces that we haven't seen in some time in spring training. That really always gets me excited. But personally, my top 10 prospects, I don't actually have my list in front of me, but I can tell you the names for sure. So going from bottom up, number 10, I have a Mr. Casey Martin, drafted last year, absolute 100% breakout potential. Really exciting speed tool, a potential five tool infielder should the hit tool refine itself. Very excited to see him play this year, no matter what level he starts at. Looks like he's going for high A, but we'll see. It's definitely not unheard of for guys like, when Bryson Stott was first drafted. He started in Williamsport, which was then low A. It doesn't exist anymore, sadly. But I will miss it very dearly. So maybe Casey starts in low A, works his way up a little bit, but I cannot wait to see what he's got. That hit tool just needs to be retuned a little bit, but once it gets there, watch out for that dude. Number 9 was Mickey Moniak. Obviously, has put up quite a strong spring training, but he's been in my top 10 for quite some time, and should be in everybody's top 10. I mean, we're looking at it's very rare that a first overall pick, just goes and peters out into nothingness. So with Mickey, my ultimate ceiling for him used to be, worst comes to worst, his floor is a 4th outfielder. His ceiling, he's a really solid everyday major leaguer. Now that he's come to camp a little bit stronger, a little bit more headstrong, a little bit more strong in every respect, to be completely honest, I'm definitely starting to get a lot higher on him. But as of now, I'm playing it conservatively, sticking with what my opinion has been, which is, solid everyday major league contributor. Go ahead.
Hasn't he already played a few games like with the big club, like last year?
Yeah. He played last year. I believe he played 9 games. So, he was, showed some improved plate discipline. I don't know how much that's going to stick around, but what I will tell you is very exciting is that, both of his home runs from spring training this year have come with 2 strikes. And that's really important because, Mickey is a guy that used to whiff a lot. He would swing and miss quite a bit. And it's unfair to judge him based on those things because he was always playing above his age level in the minor leagues. He was always facing guys that were at least 3 years older than him. So with Mickey, I think a lot of people were just really quick to write him off once they didn't see instant success. And even then, it's not like he was unsuccessful in the minors. He just didn't hit for a lot of power. Now, that's why he's bulked up a little bit over the last few years. And you're really starting to see him now drive the baseball a lot more. He's turning around on inside fastballs like it's nothing.
Those two home runs were not short at all.
Nope.
They were flying out of there.
Also, a thing I can admit about us, we're not a forgiving fan base at all. We're really
Yeah, you can tell from especially you, Alex, with our Twitch streams. When you first announced Mickey Moniak being that high, a lot of people were quick to write him off, but so far he's proving us all wrong. There's a lot more people joining the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that a lot of people are saying.
People like to call you crazy when you believe strongly in a person, and they are quick to write him off. But I've been in the, what was it you call it, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse for quite some time now. So I'm still very excited to see what comes of him, and this spring training is just a big showcase for him, and what he's been working on over the last few years. Shout out to Jason Ochart, who absolutely 100% has believed in him the whole way. Made his hands a lot quicker, turned that bat speed up a notch. He's killing it. So I'm very, very excited for Mickey.
I believe your good friend Shelfie came up with the name Mickey Mouse Clubhouse as
did he really?
I think he said that after his first bomb, he said in his new Create a Stadium in next year's MLB The Show, his be called the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Oh, damn.
That is cheap.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
What a fool.
And then I forgot what to say, especially with that injury to Adam Hazley, it's getting pretty possible that he could make that opening day roster as a backup to, say, Roman Quinn or Scott Kingery.
He certainly does have the advantage of already having a 40-man roster spot. That is for sure. So we'll see. I mean, it really, really depends on how where the Phillies go from here in terms of 40-man structure. But Mickey definitely has an upper hand on some of the other competitors for the spot, just because he already has a roster spot. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on, though, in my top 100, I believe number 8 is Yosuo Garcia, or El Drone, as many call him, a center fielder, very, very talented young player, really great defender, has a solid arm for center field, has a great run tool, obviously very speedy, and is much more contact prone than one of his center field counterparts, who is a little bit higher on my list, but much more contact prone bat. Just lacks a little bit of the power, but he will definitely find it. Very, very excited for him. One of my favorite, international signees, period, that the Phillies have made in the last few years, just because he's very, very advanced for his age. So very excited to see Yosuo patrolling around center field for many years to come. Number.
Sorry,
go ahead.
This guy reminds me kind of like Ben Revere. He never exactly hit for power. He was a good hitter. But sometimes, really now this is more been of a power league. But
that's true.
You really don't need there's guys like I forget who it was from the Orioles. I believe it was Hansel Alberto or something like that.
Hansel Alberto, yep.
Yeah, I believe it was him who just puts the ball in play. He just aims to put the ball in play. He doesn't go for power.
Totally.
We need more of that, honestly.
Yeah, we were talking about, I think that came up in on stream the other day, that we were talking about how Gene Segura, prior to him finally being his home run stride, he finally was hitting for contact and he was hitting over 300. Now, since he's tried to become more of a power hitter, his average has dipped and he has not been the same player. So I think if Joe Dillon this year can help Gene Segura find his contact rather than going for his power, I think he could be a good player this year.
I would rather be on base more than have a power than.
I think what you're looking at with Gene, it's a little bit different. So Gene, as he's gotten older, I mean, it's not like the hard hit rates and the contact rates have dipped at all. He's gotten a lot more patient at the plate, and you see this with a lot of guys. A lot of guys, when they start getting a little bit more patient, taking a little bit more, taking a few more pitches here and there, the average starts dropping, and that's not something we should care about anymore. Average is a very outdated metric. It just tells you how many times you got lucky enough to put a ball past the infielders. But
outrun the infielders.
Exactly. But with Gene, what he started to do is he started to really develop this excellent and patient approach. One that is very typical of a leadoff hitter. And I think once Andrew McCutchen graduates from this team next year, I think you really could see Gene Segura take that leadoff spot, especially given how his 2020 panned out. I mean, he was a brilliant defender last year,
Mm-hmm.
took his very fair share of walks. So I'm pretty excited to see how he performs this year. Honestly, I think
Me
he's
too.
going to be one of the team leaders in wins above replacement. I really believe that. His defense is just stellar at second base, and given what he can add to the team, based upon his overall value instead of just moving the runner up with contact, I think is going to be pretty important. So I'm very excited to see him. Moving on though to my seventh ranked prospect, we are looking at Mr. Luis Garcia, a shortstop, who I'm sure many of you have seen already in spring training. He has bulked up a little bit, which is very exciting. I am a big fan of his. Really love, obviously anybody that's ever watched Luis Garcia, that he has quite a few things already lined up for him. He has an amazing arm. He's got an incredible glove. His floor is legitimately just a utility infielder, and a very, very good one at that. But honestly, I'm just very, very excited to see that he's physically bulked up a little bit more. The only problem with Luis was his power. He had a very hard time, especially in his Lakewood stint, finding any kind of way to get the ball out of the infield. Just lots of grounders, lots of, they were hard hit, they were barreled, but it's just all the stuff, getting on the ground, not elevating the ball enough. So, with a little bit more bulk comes, this very, very exciting player. I mean, if ultimately, when I first started writing about prospects, Luis Garcia had just finished his rookie ball season, and he had this absolutely incredible year, near 400 average. Just and he was getting fair enough. I mean, had just great speed, amazing glove. Super excited about it. So I compared him to Francisco Lindor. Not in that he's going to be this perennial all-star, one of the greatest defensive shortstops of this generation, but in that he's this smaller guy, not exactly a huge stature, that could eventually, given the right tools, given the right lead-ons, could absolutely be swatting some short porch home runs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So obviously with Garcia's glove, it is easily comparable to Lindor's. I mean, he is that good of a defender, truly. So very, very excited about that kid, especially seeing that he's added some mass, and some good mass at that. So really, really excited to see what he can do. It's gonna be really, really fun to see. He probably starts in high A this year, so it's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah, he's had some great at bats so far in spring training, in my opinion, even though he hasn't got on base as much as I would have thought he would be, but he's seen the ball well, and I think he's progressed through the ranks pretty high this year.
Shout out to the pitcher Luis Garcia that we had a few years back.
Yes, Luis Garcia of the New York Yankees now, and shout out to he's got a minor league invite from the Yankees. Shout out to Luis Garcia of the Washington Nationals. Shout out to Luis Garcia of the Houston Astros. Shout out to Luis Garcia of the anyway.
So many of them.
We have the Astros.
Oh, there's so many Luis Garcias.
There are.
But I mean, and they're all really good.
Hopefully ours is just as good as all of them.
With a great name comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
anyway,
true.
Number 6, you know him, you love him, Mr. Raphael Marchand. Just one of my favorite prospects in the Philly system, period, end of story. Excellent contact tool. Obviously, as we all know, needs to work on that power. Has one career home run, and
that was a big one.
To be in the major leagues.
That was a big one.
But, obviously needs to work a little bit on the power, but he is an excellent receiver, has an excellent arm, just very mature for his age. Now, I do see Marchand as a little bit, especially with JT Realmuto locked up, see him as a little bit of a trade piece. So I'm not sure we'll be seeing him as often as we might like. And he's also just been injured, which is very unfortunate. I hope he's okay. And it's going to make things rather complicated for the Phillies 40-man roster, but we'll get there when we get there. But just overall, I mean, Marchand is this absolute wonderful, wonderful receiver and defensive catcher, and has the contact tool to boot. So, I mean, if he can take up that power even a little bit, you're looking at an easy, everyday major league catcher. One that is very, again, I'm not going to get too carried away here with comparisons, but I mean, you look at a guy like Yadier Molina,
Mhm.
and you see, a catcher that hit for very high average and is one of the greatest, receiving defenders of all time. So I'm not saying
Throw it
Marchand's
last
ceiling
year.
is
Yeah.
I'm not saying Marchand's ceiling is Yadier Molina, but I am saying there are definitely some similarities there, right? Like a really,
Mhm.
really mature defensive catcher that hits for high average, and could potentially just be one of these guys that gets to play in the majors at the regular level for a very long time. So
Yeah.
very excited for that kid as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. Prior to Adam Hazley getting hurt, I was thinking Marchand and Roman Quinn could have possibly been thrown into a trade, but like with our team right now, there's no holes really that are observant right now. I was thinking maybe Joey
Bullpen.
Gallo bullpen will probably be, but right now they're looking pretty good. But that's
Yeah.
spring training. But I was thinking Joey Gallo would be a possible trade piece, like
Oh,
to go after.
I wish. My dream.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't.
maybe.
Do we really need another first baseman though?
He's not. Oh. That is where you're wrong, sir.
Ah,
Sir, you
Wait,
are wrong. He's
what
one of
about
the
Reese
best
Hoskins?
defensive left fielders in all of baseball.
He was.
he
Oh,
got a
Joey
Gold Glove
Gallo.
last year. Yeah.
I
Joey
I
Gallo is an absolute powerhouse defensively. That is what makes him so interesting. Is that
Mhm.
he's this massive dude that also
well,
just has with one
I
of
know he can
the
destroy ball. I really wasn't watching much of the season last year because it also coincided with the Stanley Cup. So,
oh, I
but
totally
I
understand.
mean, I know Joey Gallo can murder baseballs. He hit one like
Well,
all the way top of the hill at Angel
that's what
Stadium.
his big thing, and when he was drafted, was that he's this five-tool player. Well, not exactly five-tool. He's a four-tool player with the
Yeah.
only tool that's missing being, this contact tool, which is very important. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but
Well,
big, massive dude, game-changing power, and is an amazing defender. So that
Mhm.
was just the big thing for Joey, was that he has everything going for him. He just needs that contact tool,
'Cause
and unfortunately, the shift has kind of ruined
mhm.
MLB the
everything for
shift
him.
right there.
Yeah, that's
But
what killed Ryan Howard. But I think Joey Gallo has 3 or more home runs so far this spring training in limited
yep,
games.
he's kicking butt, and
Mhm.
he will always kick butt in spring training. But he is just a very, very talented man. I
Mhm.
would easily take a shot on him where are the Phillies, but I'm not sure it's at this point. It behooves them to trade for him, especially with no designated hitter
Mhm.
in the National League. But I do think that he's a guy that they have had their eyes on in the past. They will have their eyes on him going forward. One would hope, and I would prefer to trade for him before he wins an MVP award or something like that. So
That
would definitely love to get that done
buy
at some
low.
juncture.
Yeah, buy him low.
Exactly. Um,
I
anyway,
I
oh,
am
go ahead.
immediately regretting looking at the Gold Glove. Sorry, I immediately regret looking at the Gold Glove last year because
No,
there's
he's pretty amazing.
two two former Phillies on this list. That one of them being
Cesar
Cesar
Hernandez for the
Hernandez, the other
Gallos?
one
No.
I honestly miss him and Freddie Galvis for their defense and JP
Oh yeah, Freddly
Crawford.
Galvis was.
There
Oh,
was a
JP.
lot of
Oh
former
yeah.
Phillies on last year's
Yes.
Gold Glove.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
no. I
I
also
mean,
find it hilarious. So remember how like the
it,
Brewers they traded Trent Grisham because of his mess up in the wild card game, like the fielding mess up. Yeah, and then
yep.
he ends up getting a Gold Glove the very next year. It's just so funny.
Oh, more than that. I mean, he was one of the biggest breakouts of last year. He's a fantastic player. I think
Mhm.
that trade got a lot of weird looks. Luis Urias and
You know, what's Gordon won.
whoever the other piece was. It doesn't even matter for Zach Davies and Trent Grisham. I mean that was just. And then Zach Davies turns into Yu Darvish, and Trent
Zach
Grisham
Davies
turns into this.
had a down year though in 2019.
It,
I
it
do
doesn't
understand
even
why.
matter. I mean, Zach Davies. We all knew that Zach Davies was
Yeah.
going to be fine. So I mean,
Yeah.
just that trade in general makes the Brewers look a little strange.
It
But
made no sense to have
again, the
Silva's
Brewers are a pitching factory, so it really doesn't matter. Um, for them at least. But anyway, if I may
Mhm.
move on to number 5,
Ooh,
my
5.
favorite prospect in all of the Phillies system, Mr. Johann Rojas. My favorite
Yeah.
prospect I've ever. This is kind of like my baby, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I first started writing prospects, Johann Rojas wasn't even a glimmer in anyone's eye. He started gaining a little bit of popularity in many of my circles. I use air quotes for circles. But like in many of my circles, so I was like, all right, what's this kid about? Watched maybe 2 minutes of footage on him in one day, and then just binged Gosh, probably upwards of 4 hours worth of footage.
Wow.
I was up very late into the night because I fell in love with this kid. And now he's finally starting to garner some recognition. Easily behind Kendall Simmons, probably the most impactful bat in all of the Phillies system. And by that, I mean, has these just eye-popping exit velocities. At the alternate site, there were rumors that he hit a ball upwards of 114 miles an hour.
Wow.
A home run, I mean.
And
the kid is 20 years old. So it's obviously he's still growing into his body, but what he is he is a guy that plays the game with an electricity about him, and that is really important. It's the same electricity that you see with the guy that many people compare him to, Mr. Ronald Acuna Jr. Just this passion and flair for the game. He loves it. He loves every minute of it, and he loves making those big plays, making these big decisions in these big spots in the game. So whether that be in center field or whether that be at the plate, anything like that, he really enjoys those moments. What is amazing about him is that the glove in and of itself could play in the major leagues right now. He is an absolutely stellar defender and has a really good arm, which is rare in center field. So you really, really want to keep an eye out for that. He does lack a bit of a contact tool. That is what they are primarily focusing on with him. But he has raw power that rivals very, very many. He is an absolutely out, and obviously, with center field comes the attached speed tool. He's very fast. Will steal a fair share of his own amount of bases. So he's probably a guy that, honestly, if all goes right, he is a perennial 2020 guy. 20 home runs, 20 steals, with excellent defense. And there's room to grow for more. He is consistently being named among these guys that you have to look out for. And it's reassuring for me because I've loved him for so long, and I'm watching him grow and prosper into this big name prospect. So I'm very excited for him, and just pumped to see what he could turn into eventually.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited.
Yeah, he's going to be a fun one. All right, number 4, I have Mr. Francisco Morales. If you don't know who he is, you should learn. Just an absolute unit of a pitcher. Very high floor. And again, I feel like I say that a lot with these top guys. This high floor that worst comes to worst, he's a talented bullpen arm. But Francisco Morales, what makes him so good, only has 2 pitches right now, working on a changeup. But the 2 pitches that he does have are both plus. A fastball that can ride up into the upper 90s with lots of spin, and he commands it very well. But what he also does command even better is his slider, which is just utterly ridiculous. He has 3 different ways that he can manipulate it, which is terrifying for opposing hitters. But that's why often in his scouting reports you'll read he has this feel for pitching. Again, using air quotes. He has this feel for pitching, and that's important because that's not something you can teach. And when you can manipulate your pitches in 3 different ways, I mean, that is very, very exciting. So he has, and what I mean by that, for those who don't know, he has a way that he can make the slider run away from you. He can make it run in a 12-6 motion, and he can also just make it run diagonally, going, so he basically treats it like going from 6 to 9 on the clock.
Wow.
It's very, very it's terrifying. It's very scary as a hitter to not know what version of the slider is coming at you. So he's very, very exciting. And I love watching him. Definitely a guy that you could see in the upper part of your rotation in the future, or worst comes to worst, again, just a very dangerous bullpen arm. And he is actually one of those guys that I would look at this year and say, hey, if the Phillies are making a late run in September, that's a guy I could see coming because he's already on the 40-man roster. He is absolutely
that makes
filthy.
it a lot easier.
Would be really, really fun to see him come up to the majors at some point.
Yeah.
So that's my number 4.
Yeah, hopefully they know that they postponed the minor league season about a month, but hopefully he gets some chance to pitch against some live batters and get some more practice before, say, that September run.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean,
it turns into a wildfire.
Yeah.
then
I mean,
we can use him there.
Fingers crossed.
that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting about the Phillies 40-man roster right now, though it may be a little bit crammed. You have a lot of guys on there that you can bring up. The bullpen turn into an absolute dumpster fire, which I don't believe it will. I don't think it's going to be an elite bullpen.
We said that last year, though. It won't be that bad. It was that.
So the difference, well, some people said it won't be that bad. Others were less neglectful of it. You know, and I won't toot my own horn here, but I definitely did point out that it was a glaring issue, especially when you turned.
Yeah, you could see it was going to happen.
Tommy Hunter, you know, and the like for the second year in a row. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, obviously they've fixed it now.
April of 2019, anyway.
What'd you say?
When was the last time? Wait, did David Robertson actually pitch for us last year?
No, not last year. No.
Yeah, he pitched, I believe,
he pitched 3 games.
3 games.
Or 6 games, yes. It might have been 6, might have been 3. Who cares? He did not pitch a lot.
Has he signed a contract yet so far?
Not yet. He's still out there. I'm still hoping.
We've had him for 2 seasons, and he hasn't even played more than 3 weeks.
They paid him $26 million to play, you know, some single-digit amount of games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunate. But, you know, them's the breaks sometimes. And I think they've learned their lesson about giving large contracts to, you know, older relief pitchers. But, you know, again, is what it is.
I'm sorry. I just really love what they did with the bullpen, even though it might not turn out well. But so far, what I'm seeing with the high velocity and getting those people who just have the velocity but need that control, I think Cotham can really fix that.
I mean, we've already started to see the effects, right? Jose Alvarado looked absolutely brilliant in his spring debut. Sam Coonrod looked absolutely electric in his spring debut. You know, we've had these guys. Connor Brogdon will probably add some velocity before the season. Could even get into the upper 90s, like the 98, 99 range. That would be really exciting. Jojo Romero was gunning 97. You know, we saw today, Aniel De Los Santos gunned 97. I mean, you've got a lot of viable options. You know, Brian Mitchell probably isn't going to make this bullpen, but he's been really good this spring.
That sounds familiar. Wasn't he the guy for the Yankees that got hit in the head with a comebacker?
He was. So, you know, Brian Mitchell probably won't make this bullpen, but a very strong option. David Paulino, even though he had a bad game today, I mean, looked absolutely dynamic in his first spring appearance.
Mitchell, didn't you say that Alvarado hit like 101 or something like that?
He hit 100 or 101 in his debut.
He hit 100 and then he got very close to 101.
Yeah, he got triple digits, which was something that we haven't seen in a while. What was the highest Seranthony got during his?
Seranthony has only
triple digits.
Seranthony has hit triple digits maybe once or twice, but it wasn't real triple digits. It's like 99.6 and things like that. But even still, I mean, Seranthony was, you know, the last Jose Alvarado like velocity guy we've seen in Philadelphia was Ken Giles.
That's,
you know, it's very exciting to have that kind of velocity back.
I like
they've
this
got
change.
2 guys. They've got 2 guys that can hit those upper 90s / triple digits. I mean, Sam Coonrod, you can't forget. And Seranthony Dominguez is due back hopefully in June or July.
Hopefully he comes back.
So, I mean, if he's even any semblance of the pitcher he used to be, you know, that's a really exciting ad for Phillies fans. So, you know, and not to mention, I mean, this is obviously all relative, and these guys are a few years away, but this year they made lemonade out of lemons with these with the undrafted free agent class. You know, or I guess that was last year. But I mean, they signed 13 pitchers, I believe 5 or 6 of which are very well known for not only touching upper 90s with their fastballs and sometimes upper 90s, but also for having these really high spin secondary pitches. You know, I remember, I think it's Jonathan. No, who is it? Oh, Jonathan Hughes, maybe, has like a 3,100 RPM slider. You know, as an undrafted free agent. Jake McKenna already touching 96 miles an hour as an 18-year-old out of high school. Chase Antle already gunning 100 miles an hour. You know, as an undrafted.
I hope their shoulders don't fall off.
Yeah, so, hopefully they stay healthy.
You know, it's just all of these guys that they ended up getting for next to nothing because the draft, you know, was obviously severely shortened, and the Phillies had planned for it, I suppose. So it's just very, very exciting to see them taking a bit of a different approach going forward, especially when it comes to velocity. So that's just something to keep your eye on as things go forward. But I think they're going to be okay this year, especially because even if the pen does go up in flames a little bit, lots of guys are waiting in AAA. I mean, you've still got Ranger Suarez. You can't forget how good he was in 2019. You've still got
Ranger Suarez.
Oh yeah, I love Ranger Suarez.
Gotta remember
Ranger Suarez. Big fan. Jojo Romero might not make the opening day roster. If he doesn't make the opening day roster, that's another arm waiting in AAA. Damon Jones, Adonis Medina is going to be there. I mean, all these guys that we
like. Was Medina? Wasn't he with like the Mariners? Or am I thinking of a different Medina?
Different guy.
Okay.
But Medina did pitch, I think, 1 or 2 games for us. I know he pitched against the Blue Jays.
2 scoreless innings now under his belt. Proud of him. Actually, both against the Blue Jays. He pitched today and he pitched
Buffalo Blue Jays
3 or 4 days ago. But obviously, there's just a lot of arms that are that we've been hearing about for quite some time that just haven't quite been ready. That are now ready to go. They're all set and ready, and it's going to be very, very exciting to see those guys come up eventually.
Is it top 3 now for our prospects?
It is top 3 time. I'm sure anybody who knows the slightest bit about Phillies prospects will know this top 3 by rote. It is a very common ranking of these top 3 players. So here we go. Number 3 is Mr. Bryson Stott. You know him, you love him. My very favorite pick for the Phillies second baseman of the future. I don't think he sticks at shortstop long term. He might have the glove for it, but I'm of the personal belief that either Luis Garcia or an infielder that they might even sign as soon as next year might lock down that spot for quite some time. But I think Bryson Stott, that glove will play at least a 65 grade at second base. I think he's got an excellent contact tool. The power tool was a little bit oversold, but he has been obviously taking some tips from Bryce Harper. Their 2 stances look very, very similar, and they are best friends. So that is very nice to see. Both Vegas natives. So obviously,
Chris Bryant
with a short porch in Citizens Bank Park, you'll probably see him hit for quite a bit of power, especially to pull side. But very, very excited to see what
he's lefty as well.
He is a lefty, yes. So very excited to see
either way,
what he can do. Oh, exactly. But very excited to see what he can do. I think that he could get the call up as soon as next year, depending on how the Phillies end up lining up their guys. But I probably see him as Gene Segura's replacement come 2023, which is going to be really exciting. Very, very pumped to see Bryson make an impact. I definitely think he's a major league regular. Not sure he's a superstar or an all-star for that matter, but I do think that, he will be a consistent 2 to 3 to 4 WAR player. Very excited for him to see what kind of impact he has on this team.
Yeah, he won't be that Chase Utley, who's a really good superstar, but I think he'd still probably have the production, maybe a little less than what Chase had, but he might not get the same recognition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure he'll quite reach that. I mean, Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer. I don't think Bryson Stott is an eventual Hall of Famer. But I do think that there are going to be some years where Bryson really comes out and shows off what why he was drafted in the first round. And he's just very, very talented and a great dude. And overall, we'll certainly have some of those seasons that pop some eyes. So I'm very excited for him.
When's Utley ready to be? When did he retire?
He retired in. No,
might have been 17. I think it was the year before. It was the year before the Dodgers World Series runs.
So he'll be eligible.
And it was 2016 then.
Yeah, he'll be eligible in 2 years, I believe. So I'm very, very, very excited.
That big 3.
If I had a vote, I would vote for him.
Those big 3.
Not sure he'll be a first ballot, but he will certainly be. He'll be in there for sure. One of the greatest second basemen of all time. Very, very, very happy for him.
Mets fans will be putting him in. I can tell you that.
Number 2 for me, the Phillies' most recent first-round draft pick, Mr. Mick Abel. Obviously, just this brilliantly talented kid, the best high school pitcher in the 2020 draft class, hands down. There was no question about it. Received comparisons to Justin Verlander. Just this very, very talented young man who has just this very mature, approach to pitching. Has 3+ pitches already under his arsenal, and is a commanding pitcher. So he's got everything. He has everything. The only thing he needs to do is, continue with that progress. Keep moving forward with it. He needs to continue to, and hopefully he stays healthy. God forbid. Knock
hopefully.
on wood.
Please
Hopefully
We don't need a
That's,
Joel Embiid incident here where he
that
comes
is
out.
the biggest risk when you draft a high school pitcher. But when it comes to Mick, you've got to be excited with what you have there. A guy whose fastball sits upper 90s, who already has 2 other plus secondaries. It's just a very, very exciting arsenal for him. And as an 18-year-old to be ranked so high on an organizational list, you've got to be pretty good. Even if it is the Phillies organizational list, you do have to be pretty talented. So I'm very, very excited to see what he brings to the table, especially because we'll be able to see, hopefully be able to see. I don't think he'll start in rookie league, especially because he already got some work in at the alternate site. So
I believe
he'll probably start in
probably
low A.
Yeah, low A.
So very, very excited for him. I think he's going to do great, great things, and I'm very, very pumped to watch some of him this year. And finally, my number one, everybody knows it. Yes, go ahead.
Now it's time for an ad just to mess with all you. I'm just kidding. But anyway, my real question is it Lakewood then Clearwater or Clearwater then Lakewood?
It is Clearwater then Lakewood now. It used to be Lakewood then Clearwater, but they have flip-flopped now. Yes. With the omission. Go ahead.
I didn't realize it had switched.
With the omission of Williamsport, they switched roles. So it's I understand it's going to be, and it's no longer Lakewood, actually. It's Jersey Shore. It's the Jersey Shore Blue Claws. So
wow.
It goes Clearwater, then Jersey Shore, then Reading, and then Lehigh Valley, and then obviously the majors.
All 4 very great ballpark parks, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, very, very excited to catch some games. It's going to be fun eventually. All right.
Hopefully COVID is not a thing in these next couple of years and we're able to go see the world of baseball.
No, it'll be a thing. Just hopefully it won't be as much of a thing.
God. We pray. Anyway, number one on my list, everybody knows it already, but it's Spencer Howard, of course. You saw glimmers of what everybody loves about him in his first spring training appearance. He was just absolutely dynamic, touching 97. And Paris, he goes even higher than that. That's just his initial spring appearance. But, this is a guy that can get up to the triple digits in some of his starts. And he's never really pitched in a full season ball, but I do have the feeling that this is going to be a great year for him, especially given that he'll have many more reps in AAA to start warming up a little bit, get ready for a September push, hopefully. But, anytime a right-handed pitcher has a changeup like Spencer Howard does, that is just where things get so freaky. He is just totally dominant when that changeup is working for him, and when the curveball is working for him as well, but also the slider. When he has those pitches online, he is absolutely unhittable, especially with a fastball like he has. Again, it's one of those guys that you really look at and you see the ceiling, and you just can't help but be, absolutely blown away. It's him, it's Mick Abel. These 2 guys are, sky's the limits for them. They could easily be aces, on any ball club, as long as their development goes as planned. They have that kind of ceiling. They just need to attain it. And hopefully they do. And I am a strong believer that Spencer Howard will. I have no idea about Mick Abel, but I'm a strong believer that Spencer Howard will attain that ceiling. It's why so many, even after a quote unquote down year in which he only pitched like 29 innings, and he skipped AAA and he's never played full season baseball before. But anyway, even after that kind of year, he is still, ranked in the upper echelon of talent all across Major League Baseball. So I'm very, very excited to see what Spencer brings to the table this year, especially given some warm-up time in AAA.
Those are like the 2 major storylines I have for the Phillies, just for till the end of the month, with those 2 days before opening day. Is who will Spencer be up in the bullpen? Will he be a 6th man in the rotation, or will he start in AAA? And then obviously the center field competition.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that Spencer starts in AAA, and I think that's the right decision. That is where I've been pretty much all of this offseason. I really think that he needs the time to warm up. You can't just skip the most important level of your development. AAA is so important because, it's that next step. It's where you start. It's where you start really facing that major league caliber talent. So, I'm a strong believer that he will be there. And I hope that's where they start him. If not, I think they'll be kind of wasting him out of the bullpen, but it is what it is. And then as for the center field competition, again, I stand pretty staunchly behind Scott Kingery with Roman Quinn as a backup with the Adam Hazley injury. Once Adam comes back, I think it will be a strong platoon in Hazley's favor. But, if they're looking for another center fielder to carry on the opening day roster, I do believe it will probably be Mickey Moniak over any of the other options, specifically because he has a 40-man roster spot already, whereas many of the other competitors do not. And that's where things start getting scary, because you look at this 40-man roster. If the Phillies want to add Brandon Kinsler, if they want to add Tony Watson, if they want to add,
that's right.
JT Realmuto,
guys are good names in like the mid 2010s, good times.
Right. If Tony or JT Realmuto is not ready to start the season, they're going to need to add a backup catcher. Probably, because Marchand is also injured, it'll probably have to be Jeff Mathis. If they add Jeff Mathis, that's another 40-man spot they have to clear.
There's so many things going on here.
If they want to add Matt Joyce, they have to clear another 40-man spot.
Another mid-2010s.
Specifically in the case of someone like Odubel Herrera, as much as I do not like to talk about him, you're looking at 4 guys already that are ahead of him in terms of who you would add to the 40-man roster. And the crunch is very legitimate. Now, if you're going to have Odubel Herrera replace Roman Quinn on the roster, well, that's fine. But then how do you get Brandon Kinsler in there? You DFA David Hale? Sure. How do you get Tony Watson in there? How do you get Matt Joyce in there? How do you get Jeff Mathis in there if you need that backup catcher? There's just no real way to go about it. So it's going to be really, really hard for them. That's why I'm very, very much expecting a trade to go down at some point to clear some prospects off the 40-man roster. That could also just bolster, the major league team. But I think that is probably something that's going to happen. And if it does, then it certainly makes the chances that Odubel Herrera would make the the opening day roster a little bit higher, especially because they do owe him $6 million this year. He's already being paid. And it just doesn't look like we are siding with morality on this one. So we'll just have to see what happens. It's a lot of dominoes have to fall still. But I would certainly put Mickey Moniak in the running there alongside Scott Kingery and Roman Quinn.
I would definitely trust Dave Dombrowski with these moves. I would not probably trust a Klentak with them just because of I wanted Dave Dombrowski, even though he's only been here for a couple months. I think he understands the roster more and which prospects he would be willing to say let go, try to clear on waivers. And I believe that there's just so many factors into this decision that I don't even know. It's one of those surprises. Opening day, it could be 5 different people. That's the fun of it.
We were certainly surprised last year. That is for sure. When Josh Harrison didn't make the opening day roster, a lot of people were surprised. When Phil Gosselin did make the opening day roster and had the impact that he had, it was just a lot of surprises last year. So there will always be room for surprises on opening day. And I am sure we will not have any shortage of them this year.
I'm not sure. I don't think we'll be disappointed of what the team has put together, judging on, say, a lot of things will have to happen. Say, Sir Anthony, he's already moved to the 60-day. Let's say if there's another 40-man prospect who somehow injures himself and he would have to go in the 60-day IL.
Correct.
There's so many different ways this can go.
It still doesn't sound right saying IL. I haven't gotten used to the new change yet.
I mean, but
the 2010s as well.
There are quite a few things that the Phillies could do. We could see quite a few phantom injuries. Maybe there will be a COVID listing, which then you don't have to make a corresponding 40-man move. So there's a lot of ways they could kind of cheat their way into expanding their roster, which they will probably end up doing. But that is to be seen, and we will surely find out as we get closer.
Oh, well, that was Alex's Carr's top 10 Phillies prospects that you could probably see within the next 5 or so years.
Wow, Alex had some really good takes on those prospects there. But if you agree or disagree on some of the things, leave your opinions down in the comment section below. Also, if you would never want to miss an upload, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a podcast, which will come out every Sunday. Now, part 2, which will be linked in the description below, will still feature Alex Carr, which his Twitch and Twitter will still also be in the description below. And we all make our 2021 MLB season predictions. And let me warn you, there is some hot takes. See you in part 2.